Hi everyone. Today I'm making a video about neovim, which is basically a fork of Vim, and a little bit about ZH shell, Tmux, and also how to use Vim and how to install Vim plugins. Okay, so yeah, without further ado, let's start. Okay, so what is Vim? So Vim is basically a text editor. It's actually more than a text editor. You can customize it to act like an IDE. So there are many text editors out there, like VS Code, NetBeans, Atom, Sublime. But what makes Vim different is it's super customizable. It's open source. You can basically customize it to the point where you feel like you wrote the Vim program itself. So it's highly customizable. So I think Vim was created, I'm not sure, in the 50s, in the 60s, yes, somewhere around that. But I started using Vim in, I believe it's in 2015, and yeah, ever since then it has been my primary editor for basically all my projects, for my Angular, for my JavaScripts, React, be it HTML, basically all the languages I work with. And most recently, thanks for the OmniSharp team, they created a plugin called OmniSharp that lets you autocomplete .NET Core projects. Thank you very much for that. Now I can basically do coding, .NET coding, using my neovim. So yes. So excuse me, you might hear me cough from time to time. I have a little bit of cold, so yeah, sorry about that. And so what's the difference between Vim and neovim? So they're basically the same. I wouldn't say the same, but similar. Neovim is a fork of Vim, and neovim does things asynchronously, whereas Vim does not. But you can make a Vim to do asynchronous things by installing a plugin called I think it's called a Vim Dispatch, but I'm not gonna go deep into that. So yeah, I recommend you use a neovim because you have everything configured for you. You don't have to go through the hassle of making a Vim an asynchronous application. So yeah, so as you can see, this is my Ubuntu machine. I have let's see about this computer. So I have Ubuntu 18.04, the LTS version. So you can install neovim basically on Windows, Mac, and Linux as well. So yes. So as you can see, so this is my Vim. I'm also using Z shell. This is Z shell. It is it's I would say a replacement for Bash. By default, Ubuntu comes with Bash. So in order to have a more functionality, you can install Z shell on your Ubuntu, and yeah, you install these icons right here, the Linux icon, and it makes things pretty, and So yes, I'm not gonna go through the installation. I'm sure you'll find something on the internet how to install ZH shell on your Ubuntu machine. Also, I'm using Tmux, which is a terminal multiplexer. So you can see on the bottom I have windows opened here, multiple windows, and I also have sessions. If I press Ctrl A and then S, these are the different sessions. So I have a React project opened here, I have a .NET Core, I have an Angular project here. So you can circle through those, and you can select whichever project you want. So you can work on multiple projects at the same time if you have Tmux installed. So you can install Tmux simply. It's like basically installing other applications on your Ubuntu machine. So you just do a sudo apt-get install Tmux, and so they all need configuration: your ZH shell, your Tmux, and also your Vim as well. I have my configuration link down at the bottom. You can find the link, my GitHub link, and you can go through the configs of my Vim and Tmux and ZH shell as well. Installation, how to install Vim. It's the same. You do a sudo apt-get install Vim, or you can do a sudo apt-get install neovim. And there are two kinds of a neovim when you install. I just want to make sure there's one that is Python compiled, and there's another one that is not. So I highly advise you to install a Python compiled one, because if you're going to do an auto completion, what auto completion means is that let's say, let me open up my Angular project. So the auto completion is let's do app components. So if I type this and then if I press dot, you see this is the auto completion, my Angular or the TypeScript auto completion that's taking place. And you'll find that on many editors like the VS Code, Visual Studio, even on Sublime. So in order to have this functionality, make sure you have the neovim that is a Python compile. And how do I know if it is a Python compile? So there are two types. That's one that is compiled with a Python 2 and Python 3. So if you want to check if it's Python compiled, you just press colon. You see on the bottom, this is the. We'll get to that what it is. So now let's just check whether it's Python compiled or not. So you do echo and you open up presses and then you type Python. Oh no, so let's see. Sorry about that. Hold on, Python. Echo has Python, yes. So so make sure to type echo and has Python. So if you get 1, that means it has Python. And if you want to make sure whether it's Python 2 or Python 3, you can do like this. So you just type in echo and Python 3. So mine is compiled both with Python 2 and Python 3. So make sure your neovim has Python compiled. Okay, let's exit out of this. Okay, so configurations. So where are my config files? So when you install Vim, usually let's see. Let's go to this. Okay, so By the way, this is I'm changing sessions. I have multiple sessions opened up. So the shortcut, that's the Tmux doing the switch. So if you want to switch between multiple sessions, you just press Control A. That's called prefix, I think, in Tmux. I remapped it to Control A, but by default it is the Control B. So yeah, and let's go to my home directory. So this is the location where Vim puts its vimrc file. So if I do ls, that's a let's see where my vimrc is. Let's go vi.vimrc. So yes, it's in your home directory. cd this home directory. That's where your vimrc is. So vi.vimrc. So by the way, this is how you open up Vim. So I'm using. I just want to make sure. I just want you to know that every time I type Vim, it means that I'm typing neovim. So in my zh shell config, Ubuntu basically knows if I type Vim or V or VI, just open up my neovim. So we'll get to the configs later of my zh config. So for now, just if I type V or VI or Vim, it basically means the same. So yeah, just want to make things easier. So VI Vim, hold on. So this is the vimrc file. Usually you don't see these configs, this kind of configuration. I split my vimrc file into multiple files, but it's not a good idea to split your vimrc files. It's best if you keep everything in one file. But now I have everything split up into multiple files. So what this script does is this is the Tmux configuration. You don't have to worry about this. This is something when you have issues of not having the true colors on your terminal. But yeah, that's not something you need to worry about. So my config files is in my home directory /.config. So if we go to that directory, so I'm sorry, so in my home.rc.config files. So these are in my config files. So these are the different plugins I use. This is my Angular, the DOP, the global settings, GVim. Yes, by the way, neovim comes in two different flavors. One is the GUI Vim, which is basically the same as neovim, but it's more of it has a graphical interface, so it's basically the same. So these are my different configs. This is my plugins. We'll get through each of the plugins. We don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this. Yeah, we'll get to that later. So what this script is doing, this is my vimrc. By the way, this is a node tree. It's basically a file explorer for Vim. It's a plugin. It doesn't come by default with Vim. I mean, none of the things you see comes default with neovim unless you configure it, unless you install the plugins. And how you can install the plugins, we'll get through that. This is the script, the vimrc script that lets you load all your vimrc files. So this is checking if so I'm using plug. a plugin called plug. You need a plugin to install plugins, which is kind of weird, yeah. But yes, so there are different kinds of plugins to manage your plugins. There's one called NeoBundle, Vim plug, and the other one is, I'm not sure which one, but yeah, there are different types. So it checks this line here. This line here, it checks if a plug has been installed. If it's not installed, it just it curls and puts a plug.vim file from this website, and then it does a plug install. It will install, and then it cycles through my config files. It goes through this directory .rc .config and loops through all the .vim files and then source them out, which it's basically combining all those split files, the split files, into one file. So if you don't want to do that, what you can do is you just delete this line, and then you just copy all the text, all the contents into your vimrc file right here, like this. So if I do, like, say, open up and copy this, and then you just go to your vimrc and then paste, and you do that for all files. So yeah, that's one way of doing things. So how to install a plugin? So you go to your vimrc, and so like I said, I'm using a Vim plug. This is how you configure Vim plug, and these are all my plugins. I'm not going to go through all the plugins. I'll go the ones which I think are important. But before going into the plugins, let's do how to use Vim, basically. How to use Vim. So I'm going to switch to a different session. Let's do a .NET Core project. You know what? Let's do the Angular one. Okay, so right here you can see I'm in my Angular directory. So this is the ZH shell that's giving you this icons. So when you install ZH shell, make sure to install PowerPhones on Ubuntu. I'm not sure about Mac, but on Ubuntu you have to install the PowerPhones. It's a little bit tricky, but if you go through the documentation of the ZH shell installation, it will give you a brief description of how you can have these icons. So I have Git repository in my Angular project, and this is telling me that I'm on my master branch, and there are files added and there are files modified. So ZH shell basically, it tells you, it gives you a lot of information, and right here you can see I'm on insert mode, and if I press escape, I'll be in normal mode. Normal mode basically means you can cycle through all the previous commands you've used, and you can also edit previous commands you've used on Vim. Let's say if I want to use this previous command, and then if I do a write and quit, and then if I press enter. So there are so many things you can do with ZH shell. Okay, so let's open up my project. So Vim. So when I type Vim, it will basically open Vim, and so the current directory for the Vim will be on Angular CL, on my home directory and Angular CLI. Okay, so yeah, this is my Vim. So and Vim, I'm using neovim as of this recording. I'm using a 0.34 version. I think they have 0.4 out this week, but yeah, not sure. So Vim has 3 modes. One is the visual mode, one is the insert mode, and the other one is a command mode. So what's command mode? Command mode is whenever you want to type a command to tell Vim to do something, you go into command mode. So how do you enter the command mode? So you just press shift and colon. So you see on the bottom, this is the command, this is the section where you type your command. So for instance, if I type in version and if I press enter, it just gives me the description of the version and all the details you can do. So if I press escape, it will take me out of the command mode. So if I press colon and escape, it will take me out of the command mode and switch me back to insert mode. So you can enter command mode, I think, only from visual mode. If you are in insert mode, you have to switch to a visual mode, and then you can switch back to command mode. So yes, by default, when you open up Vim, you are in visual mode. I'll get to what visual mode means. So you can type commands. This one makes Vim powerful. The command mode, you can type, there are so many commands, and once you know how to use them, basically the sky's the limit. Okay, so let me open up one file. Okay, so I'm pressing Control B. So when I type Control B, this right here, it's a nerd tree. Okay, it's called a nerd tree. So basically what a nerd tree does is it's a file explorer for neovim. Okay, and you can browse files just like any file explorer program. And let me open up one file. Okay, let me open up my app.ts and see. Okay, yeah. So I'm pressing, whenever I press B, it just toggles through hiding and showing the nerd tree. So if I press B again, it just hides that nerd tree. So I'm on visual mode right now. So this is my cursor. See this right here? This is my cursor. So to move the cursor, Vim uses HJKL keys. Okay, HJKL keys. So if I press J, that means I can move the cursor down, and if I press K, move the cursor up, L to the right, and H to the left. Okay. Mind you, I'm on visual mode right now. So a visual mode, basically, you can't add text, but you can select, you can delete, you can paste, but you can't add additional text. Okay, so what can you do on visual mode? So on visual mode, you can basically read your text files. So so I'm holding J, and if I want to go up, I'm holding K, so it takes me up. And if I want to go to the end of this file, so I press Shift J. So if I press Shift G, it takes me to the bottom of the file. If I press GG twice, if I press G twice, it takes me to the first line of the file. And so how do I select text? So it's super easy to remember the keys on Vim. This is how you can remember. So we have A, S, D, F. So A is for basically append, S is for substitute, D is for delete, F, let's say F is for find, C is for change, I is for insert, and V is for like visual for selection. So if I press V, I'm on visual mode right now, so I can select files. I'm sorry, I can select the text, and if I don't want the selection, I'll press V again, and it will take me back to normal mode or visual mode. So how to move around using in Vim. So one is, like I said, you can use H, J, K, L keys. You can move left, right, up, down, but that's not enough. I mean, if you have a big text file, I mean, it's not convenient pressing K and J or L or H all day long. I mean, that's not convenient. Say for instance, if I want to go to this section right here, to the constructor, I mean, I don't want to press like J and go all the way line by line. That's not how Vim works. I mean, the way Vim works is do not repeat. I mean, there's a saying, do not repeat yourself. I think in coding as well. So if you're doing something repetitively to achieve something on Vim, that means you're doing it wrong. Okay? So let's say my cursor is right here on the top, and I want to jump right here to the constructor, and I want to select only this section. So what I would do is, so there are multiple ways of doing this. I'm just showing you how I would do it, and I mean, different people do it in a different way. Let's say one way is using a plugin. I have a plugin called Vimotion that lets you go through a text, and the other one is a normal way, I guess, without using a plugin. So if I press Go M, oh sorry, so make sure you're not on visual mode. Okay, so if I go middle, go M, go L. Sorry about that. Let's put in a mark right here. Okay, yeah. So I don't know why this mark is not set. Okay. So if I want to go to this line right here, so if I press Shift and M, it will take me to the middle of the screen. M stands for middle. So Shift M takes you to the middle of the screen. Shift H, high. H stands for high, so to take me to the top. And L is for low. And if I press Shift L, it will take me to the bottom of the file. So in order to select that constructor, I can press Shift M, and then I can go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one way of doing it without using a plugin. Or if you are using a plugin like me, using Vimotions, I can. So there's a thing called leader key on Vim. A leader key is basically on Vim you don't use your mouse. I mean, 100% of the work you do is using your keyboard. And I mean, there are so many combinations, there are so many, I wouldn't call it shortcuts, but mappings or keys. I don't know what they're called, but so leader key, it allows you to have your own custom combination of keys. So you can read about that. So my leader key for me is the space bar. So I can map anything on Vim to do anything. That's the best thing about Vim. You can map any of the Vim's keys to your needs. And if you are using someone else's Vim, make sure to not press the keys you don't know. You have to go through the vimRC and know what keys have changed. So in my case, I have the space bar as my leader key. So if I press space bar and J, you see, it will give you this characters. What this character? So my cursor is right here. So I want to go to the constructor, right? So if I press space and J, which is basically to go down, and you see this is F. This F character. So if I press F, so the cursor will be positioned right at the constructor, right? So then is basically you do things with a laser point precision. So yeah, if I want to move up, let's say I want to go through this navigation error that you see this right here, I can press my leader key and press back. B stands for back. Oh, sorry. So it will give you all the keys of where you want to go. So if I want to go to the navigation error, if I press J and B, the cursor will be positioned right here. So J, B. There you go. And this is one way of moving around text files. So I'm on visual mode. You can change text on visual mode. You can select text. So the way you can select text is like I said, by pressing V, and then Vim is waiting for your second command. So I'm on visual mode right now, so if I move up, it will start selecting all the things. There's a thing called Vim motions. I'm not gonna go deep into that, but it's very important especially if you're coding. So what Vim motion means, it's let's say first, before getting into Vim motions, let's talk about the EW motions. So let's say I have my cursor right here, right? So if I want to move word by word, I can use W. So I'm moving word by word. So instead of character by character, every time I press W, I'm moving one word forward. And if I want to move backward, I can use B, and I'm moving one word to the back. See? So if I want to select, let's say this word only, I can press V. So when I press V, you see on the bottom, it's telling me that I'm on visual mode right now. So Vim is expecting another command. So if I press W, say for instance, it's going to select that specific word. You see? If I press W again, it's going to select another word. W, another word. Let's say I want to select 3 more words. what I can do is, instead of typing W 3 times, you know what I can do? This is the best thing about Vim. I can press the number 3 and W. So let's say it's selected 3 words. What happened there was Vim, the way Vim assumes word is, so this is one word and this is another word. You see this space right here? It's considering it as a word. Let's say, let's go on the bottom and let's go to this right here. See this section right here? So let's say I'm right here, right? So I'm on normal mode. So if I press V, so Vim is expecting a command of what to do. So it's expecting me, let's say if I press W, that's one word. If I press W again, it's going to select the next word, which is session. So let's say I want to select all 3 words at a time. So instead of doing, by the way, in order to exit out of a selection, you just press V again, and it will take you out of the selection. Okay, so let's say I'm right here and I want to select 4 of the words at the same time. What I can do is press V, and I can press W 4 times, but instead of doing that, I can press the number 4 and W. Now I have selected all the 4 words. And you can expand this selection as well. If you want to expand it to your right, you just press W, right? And if you want to expand your selection on the left hand side, you can do that as well. So how you can do it is you just press O, it will move your cursor. You see, whenever I press O, it will move the cursor between these selections. That way you can expand your selection. So if I press W, it will move the cursor right here, and I can press H and expand my selection, and I can press B if I want to. If I want to expand my selection word by word, which direction, back direction. So B, another B, another B. See, it's expanding my selection. Even I can expand my selection vertically. So if I press K, it's going to expand all the way to the top. So if I press K again, K again, K again, K is basically moving in a vertical direction or one line at a time. So it's another line, another line. Let's say I want to select 5 more lines. So instead of pressing K 5 times, I can press 5 and I can press K 5 lines. And if I want to expand my selection from the other side, my cursor is right here, right? So if I press O, I can move my cursor without losing my selection. That's the best thing. So without losing my selection, I can move my cursor from this side of the selection by pressing O, and it moves it right here. So I can expand my selection again. So if I press J to go down, go down. See? So that's how you select on Vim. And so this combined with Vim motions, you can do so many things. Like you can do so many things as far as text manipulation is concerned. Okay, so if I press V again, it will take me out of my selection, and now I'm in normal mode. So what are the other things? So we have D for delete, S for substitute, A for append, I for insert. So let's say if I want to insert the text, let's say I want to insert the text right here. So I just move my cursor right here, and I can press I, and I can type in whatever I want, and then I can press Control C I can press Control C. So when I press Control C, it's taking me out of insert mode and switching me back to visual mode or normal mode. I think normal mode and visual mode, they're basically the same, except that visual mode you are basically selecting some text, whereas in normal mode you're not in selection mode. That's the difference. So when I say a normal mode or visual mode, I'm basically saying the same things. Okay. Okay, so I have this text right here, right? So, but I don't want this text, and I want to get rid of it. There are so many ways of doing it. So D is for delete. So if I press D, okay, so Vim is waiting for a second command. What do you want to delete? Okay. So I want you to remember this. Every time you press the change or the delete, Vim always expect a second command. What do you want to delete? Do you want to delete this word? Always remember that Vim is always assuming from the point of reference, from where the cursor is. So if I want to delete this word right here, starting from this and to the end, if I press W, it's going to delete the rest of the word. So if I press W, there you go. And if I press D again, and I want to delete the rest of the word. So if I press W, I mean there's no word, right? I mean there's no word from this cursor forward, but I want to delete the ones in the back. So I can press B. There you go. It did not include the J file. You can get rid of that by pressing X, which stands for cut. And so in Vim, to undo is U, and to redo is Control R. So if I want to undo what I did, I can press U, again U, again U. So if I want to redo, Control R, Control R, Control R. Let's say if I want to undo 3 times I can press the number 3 and I can press U. Excuse me. Well, I'm having. Okay, so yeah, you can do so many things. Okay, so let's get back to Vim motions. Yeah, that's my favorite part of Vim motions. You can do so. Vim motions. So this is an Angular project. Let's say I want to select this code block right here. So I have this function, private configure new app. You see right here, and I want to select everything that is inside these braces. So what I can do is V, I, and capital B. It'll automatically select everything that's inside the block. Let's say I want to select everything that is inside the bracket. I can do VIB. There you go. And you can copy this. The way you can copy is Y, yank. Usually it's called yank on Vim. You can copy this by pressing Y. Again, I can select. I can do the selection by. So Vim motions. So the way I selected everything that's inside the bracket is using Vim motions. What Vim motions means is it's basically a combination of commands. So excuse me. So one motion is if I want to select everything that's inside the bracket. So V basically stands for visual mode, right? Like visual selection. So v internal block, VIB, internal, I for internal, A for outer. So that's one V motion. So V select. V means start selection. What do you want to select? So if I want to select, if I press V right here, and V means waiting for my second command. If I press W, only it's going to select that's word. But if I want to select everything that's inside the bracket, so IB, internal bracket. Let's say I want to select everything inside the bracket, including the brackets. How do I do that? So you can be anywhere inside the bracket, it doesn't matter as long as you are inside. Yeah, so I can press VA, which stands for outer, and B. See, now the selection is the contents inside the bracket, including the braces as well. So you can do the same thing with other curly braces as well. So let's say my cursor, this is a function, right? And I want to select everything that's inside the bracket, VI, and this time I'm not going to press B, rather I'm going to press capital B, which is Shift B. There you go. And I can copy this text by pressing Y. I can delete this text by pressing D. D stands for delete. And move it somewhere else. I can put it on my register. I'll get to that, what register means. A register is basically, Vim has different registers which you can put different texts in. And that's yes. So let's say I want to select everything that's inside the brackets, the French brackets, the curly brackets, including the brackets. How do I do that? The same way I did previously. So I can be anywhere inside. Make sure you are inside the code block. So V in outer. This time I'm going to press outer, A, and capital B. And there you go. You have your selection. And the fun thing about this is you can also expand this selection without losing the one you have. So this function right here is inside another code block, right? So if I want to select the outer code block, what I can do is I can press again A and capital B. There you go. This is the outer block. And if I want to so my cursor is right here. So if I want to switch my cursor to the one on the top, I can press O. You see? So this is my app component class, and this is where the code block begins. So it has selected the curly braces, whatever is inside the curly braces. Let me give you another example. So let's say my cursor, let me get rid of the selection, press V. Okay, so let's say my cursor is right here. So if I do VIB, that's one V motion. Okay, by the way, this is how V motion is. So V internal block, select internal block. If I do that, see what happens. So it has selected everything that is inside this class, this block. Oh, sorry. So whenever you scroll Vim using your mouse, it will screw up your selection. I'm doing this because I want you to see where the selection is. So V internal block. Okay. So you know what? Let me get rid of these functions. We don't need these. And let's see. Yeah. That way it's easier to okay. okay, just to make things simple. Okay, so yeah, this is a simple code, and so if I want, this is my class, and this is my curly bracket, and if you are inside the curly bracket, you don't have to do the selection like this to select everything inside the bracket. You can do vim motions, v internal block, and with laser precision you can select whatever it's on the block. Okay, so what can I do with this selection? Like I said, you can copy it. How do I copy it? So let's do the selection first, and I can press Y. Y stands for yank, copying. So in order to paste it, you can use P. So to paste it, let's say I want to paste it right here, and I can move my cursor there and press P. There you go. I can paste anywhere I want. And let's say instead of, okay, I'm gonna undo what I did. I can put U. Let's say so that's one way of copying everything that's inside the block and pasting it to a different place. Another way of doing this is, instead of going through like a V internal block and then you press copy by pressing Y, so many combinations, right? You can shorten this by just doing yank, I mean another V motion. So instead of making the selection first, you can do the copying on the fly. How do you do that? So you can press Y internal block, which means this is another V motion. Copy whatever there is inside the French presses. Let's say I'm right here, right? So if I want to copy that, we have another block, code block right here. So if I want to copy anything that's inside this block, so instead of making the selection and pressing Y, I can do yank internal block. There you go. Everything is copied now, and if I paste it, you probably see the contents of what I copied. Same thing I did earlier. So yank internal block. There you go. So everything is copied without without doing the selection. And if I go there and P paste it, everything is in there. And excuse me. Yes. So let's say I want to delete whatever that's inside the block. I can do that without even making the selection. How? I just press D, like I said. Every time I press an altering command, Vim is expecting me another command. So what do you want to delete? So I want to delete everything that's inside the block, inside the code block. So like previously, I can press IB, internal block. So in this case, my cursor was positioned on this block right here, right? So this block, so it deleted everything that's inside that block. But if I want to delete everything that's inside this class, I can position my cursor in that code block and I can press D, internal block. Bam. Everything is deleted. And every time you delete things on Vim, it just doesn't go away. It puts it in a register. Okay, we can talk about registers now. So okay, before going to the register, let's wrap up the Vim motions. Another Vim motion is if I want to select everything that's inside this codes or delete everything that's inside this code, or change whatever inside this code, or copy or substitute. You can do that with Vim motion. If I want to delete it, so delete internal, and you can give it a character. So previously we were doing braces and brackets, right? This time you can use quotes, and you just press the quote. There you go. Everything that's inside the quote is deleted. And if I want to copy everything or select, let's say if I want to select everything that's inside the quotes, inside the single quotes, I can press V, and Vim is expecting, what do you want to select? I want to select everything that's inside the quotes. Inside the quotes. So I inside what? The quote. There you go. And I can press D to delete that selection. Or I want to select that's inside the square brackets. Okay, V, select what? Everything that's inside I. What? The square brackets. And I can expand this selection, and by pressing again I and capital V. That's inside the curly braces. If I want to include the curly braces, I can press outer capital B. See? Yeah. So this is one way of doing things. And registers, yes. So if you are manipulating text, I'm sure you had trouble with copying a text, and you lose your clipboard. Vim has multiple registers. You can copy 26. You have 26 characters on your keyboard, right? 26 keys on your keyboard, and you can use all the keys as your registers. So let's say if I want to copy this section, I can press quotes, double quotes. That's for accessing your Vim register, and Vim is waiting for you. Which register do you want to copy this text? By the way, before we do that, so if you want to do a line by line manipulation, so if I press V, like I said, after pressing one command, Vim is expecting another command, right? So if I press V, it's going to, if I press capital V, the selection is done by line. If I press D twice, it's going to delete that line. If I press CC, it's going to change that line. Change is basically delete, except that after deleting, you will be insert mode. So if I press CC, it will change that specific line. Let me undo everything. So the registers. So if I want to copy this text, on my A register, what I can do is double quotes A register, and sorry, let me start over again. Let's go to the bottom. By the way, to go to the bottom, you just press Shift and G. It will take you to the bottom of your page. And if I press G twice, take you to the first line of the page. So this is my syntactic error giving me. This is my syntactic plugin. It says unused. The property router is declared but is never used. So I mean, that's so yeah. So okay. So the registers. So if I want to copy this line, so the way I selected the line is by pressing Shift V, select line. So if I want to copy this selection to my register A, what I can do is press double quotes A and yank Y. So it's on my register A, and if I want to copy another text on my register B, I can do that. First select, and then I can press double quotes B and Y. Now this line right here is copied to my register B, and this line right here is copied to my register A. So how do I access my registers? Let's say I want to so I want to paste whatever that's on my register B. How do I do that? I can press register. So every time when I say register, I mean double quotes. So double quotes and the name of the register, which in this case, let's say A, and then P. P stands for pest, right? P. So there you go. That's the content of the register A. And if I want to paste the contents of register B, I can do my register B and pest. That's my register. And if you want to know to see what there are in your register, you can do that by by pressing by entering into command mode. So the way you do that is so you press shift colon, right, and then you type in reg, R-E-G, and you can press tab and it will auto complete the command for you, or you can just leave it as reg, and then you just press enter. There you go. This is my register. So if you go to the register A, you see this is the contents of the register A, this is the contents of the register B, and yeah, these are the other stuff I copied. So yeah, and you can press escape or enter to exit out in the command mode. And yeah, so that's so yeah, that's Vmotions. There's another thing called macros. Macros, they're very simple to use. Just once you know how to use Vim, excuse me. Once you know how to use Vim, you can create your own macros if you're doing some repetitive things. And instead of doing things over and over and over again, you can just create a macro and do the things automatically. Let's say, I'm not going to go deep into that. It's simple. Once you know how to use Vim, it's macro is so simple. So let's say I have this text right here, right? This text right here. Let's say this is 100 lines of code, maybe 1,000, who knows. So, and you want to get rid of this the colons right here. One way of doing things is excuse me. One way of doing is by doing it manually. So oh, let's see. One way is to do it line by line, and so I can press X and get rid of X is, by the way, cut, and cut that or delete that colon. And by the way, if we want to move to the end of the line, you can use Shift and $. It will take you to the end of the line. And if you want to go to the beginning of the line, you can use 0 or like the closing bracket. Okay, so let me go to the end of the line and press X and go down and press X, go down, go to the end of the line and press X. That's one way of doing it. Imagine doing this for 100,000 lines of code. Okay, so but with macros you can do things easily. So let's say I'm just getting rid of these spaces. Okay, so with macros you need to have a register. So what macros is basically recording a set of motions and a replay and playing it back again. That's basically the definition of macros. So you just record a motion and save it in your register and play that register on a content. That's it. So the way you record macros is by pressing Q. Make sure you are on normal mode and not on visual mode or like insert mode. So let's do so Q. So when I press Q, Vim is waiting for me. Which register do you want to record your macro? Let's say I want to record my macro on T, on the letter T. So I press the letter T. You see on the bottom it says recording at T. So whatever things I'm doing right now is being recorded on the register T. So my goal is to get rid of all the colors or the semicolons, right? So what I can do is, so whatever keys you're pressing to being recorded. So I can go to the end of the line and then I can press X. And then I can move down one line and go to the beginning of the line, and I don't have to go to the beginning of the line, but this time I did it, but that's fine. And go to the end of the line and then I can press X. Okay, so I just recorded for two motions basically. So in order to end the recording, look here, it's still recording, right? So I can press Q. That's it, it's done. It's recorded on my letter T. So so in order to play it back excuse me, in order to play back my macro, what I can do is go to the beginning of the line and then I can use the add key, the add, and which macro do you want to play? The one at the T, and I can press T. There you go. So I deleted two of my semicolons, right? So when I played the macros again, it just deleted a couple more. And if I want to play this macro for the rest of the line, so let's say, so I did it 2 lines at a time. I mean, you can do it 1 line at a time, but for some reason I did it for 2 lines. So yes, so if I want to play it for the rest of the line, so I can play it how many times? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9. Let's say I have 8. I can play it 4 times, and it will get rid of the rest of the icons, the rest of the semicolons. So how do I play it 4 times? Just move your cursor to where you want to the macro to start, and I can press the number 4 times. Okay, and which macro? And I can press add T. Bam. Hold on. What happened there? Oh yeah. So yeah, it did get rid of the semicolons, right? So this is what macro is. So let's say I want to replace these equal signs into a different, let's say I don't know, to an asterisk, say for instance. You can do it using a macro. You can do a lot of things using a macro. And also, I forgot to mention, in visual selection on Vim, you can do like Shift V, and you can do block selection, which is a visual selection but block. What I mean by that is go into visual mode and just press V. So go into visual mode and press Control V for visual block. You see on the bottom, so visual block. So if I go down, you see the selection. That's how you select. And if I want to change these into asterisks, I can press C, change. C stands for change. And what do you want to change it with? With asterisks. And as soon as I exit out of insert mode by pressing Control C. Oh, what happened there? Yeah, so you have to do it quick, I guess. Change. Yes. So as soon as I exit out of the insert mode, everything is replaced. So visual mode, visual block mode is you just go into visual mode by pressing V and then Control V, and you can select these. And if I press T one word at a time, and then I can change all the consts. All the consts into, let's say, var. And I just press C and type in var and exit out of the insert mode. You see, everything const is changed into var. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So by the way, I have remapped my Control C into JJ. So if I want to exit out of insert mode, instead of pressing Control C, which I don't like, I have remapped it into by pressing J twice. There you go. That's one thing. Plugins. Okay. So without plugins, you can't really do anything on Vim. You can write your own custom plugins. It's super easy. Vim script. It's fairly simple. Once you know how to use read the Vim scripts, it's super easy to install or to write your own plugins. So plugins. Let's go to my plugins directory. Oh, let's go to my Vim RC.